Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinde Jaya Vrinde Jaya Vrinde Jaya Vrinde Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallava Girivardhari Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallava Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallava Girivardhari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parikacharya Satara Sada Shishimana's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sika Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Ki Jai Jai Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanashai Makunda Radha Kunda Giri Gurani Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mai Pranamanitam Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Garanga. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 53, verse number 56. Ratam samaropya suparna lakshanam Rajanya Chakram Paribhuya Madhava Tatoyaya Rama Purogamashanai Shrigala Madhyad Iva Bhagariddhari Ratam Samaropya Suparna Lakshanam Rajanya Chakram Paribhuya Madhava Tatoya Yor Rama Purogamashanai Shrigala Madhyad Iva Bhagariddhari Ratam Samaropya Suparna Lakshanam Rajanya Chakram Paribhuya Madhava Tatoya Ya Rama Purogamashanai Shrigala Madhyad Iva Bhagariddhari Ratam Samaropya Suparna Lakshanam Rajanya Chakram Paribhuya Madhava Tatoya Ya Rama Purogamashanai Sringala Madhyadiva Bhagariddhari. Anyone else? Okay. Ratam, unto his chariot. Samaropya, lifting her. Suparna, Garuda. Lakshanam, whose mark. Rajanya, of kings. Chakram, the circle. Paribhuya, defeating. Madhava, Krishna. Tata, from there. Yaya, went. Rama, by Ram, in this case Balaram. Puragama, proceeded. Shanai, slowly. Shrigala, of jackals. Madhyat, from the midst. Eva, as. Bhaga, his portion. Hrit, removing. Hari, a lion. Translation by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Lifting the princes unto his chariot, whose flag bore the emblem of Garuda, Lord Madhava drove back the circle of kings. With Balaram in the lead, he slowly exited, like a lion removing his prey from the midst of jackals. Please repeat. Lifting the princes unto his chariot, whose flag bore the emblem of Garuda, Lord Madhava drove back the circle of kings. With Balaram in the lead, he slowly exited, like a lion removing his prey from the midst of jackals. There's no commentary or purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, so I'll read the short commentaries of Jiva Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Suddenly everyone became, this is Jiva Goswami. Suddenly everyone became stunned with fear on seeing the symbol of the Lord, Garuda, on the chariot. It also added to the beauty of the chariot. He went slowly without fear. Sanatan Goswami writes, he put her quickly and comfortably on the chariot in the seat. The symbol of Garuda indicates defeat of others and moving quickly. Madhava means the husband of Lakshmi, who was non-different from Rukmini. Or it means he was born in the Madhu dynasty to manifest his unlimited powers. Defeating the kings, putting Balaram in the front, he slowly departed with the Yadus from that place without fear. An example is given. The lion, by force, takes the meat, Bhagaharit, though surrounded by jackals. Om Agyanatimarandasya Ganan Ganan Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidigandena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobastam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swabadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tanamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nirvasesa Shunyavadi Prashadeshtarni Vanchakalpa Druvyaschak Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Wait Digadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Like a lion, Krishna is taking away the prize from the jackals. When I first started looking over this verse, I was thinking of doing the next verse also. But this is such a moment that I just want to do this verse because it has a real, it is like the last moment of this long scene where Rukmini is at the temple and she's going to make her escape to Krishna, and Krishna is going to grasp her out of the crowd. The next verse deals with how disappointed all these kings were. Practically speaking, they were just flabbergasted. They didn't know what happened. So I'd like to go back, since the last time we were studying this chapter was on Wednesday, and just read the verses 51 through 55 and a short piece of Jiva Goswami's commentary, because this will put us into the context of this moment where Krishna is taking Rukmini, and he's not even going fast. It's slow, it's described. It's like he's got total confidence. It's like there's no problem here. Balaram's in the lead. The Yadus are around him. These kings are around, but it's like they're not touching him. This is the bubble of spiritual energy, and they're out there and Krishna's taking care of them. So here's the verses 51 through 56, 55. Rukmini appeared as enchanting as the Lord's illusory potency, who enchants even the sober and grave. Thus the kings gazed upon her virgin beauty, her shapely waist, and her lovely face adorned with earrings. Her hips were graced with a jewel-studded belt. Her breasts were just budding, and her eyes seemed apprehensive of her encroaching locks of hair. She smiled sweetly, her jasmine bud teeth reflecting the glow of her bimba red lips. As she walked with the motions of a royal swan, the effulgence of her tinkling angle bells beautified her feet. Seeing her, the assembled heroes were totally bewildered. Lust tore at their hearts. Indeed, when the kings saw her broad smile and shy glance, they became stupefied. dropping their weapons, and fell unconscious to the ground from their elephants, chariots, and horses. I hope they didn't get hurt. It's a long drop from the top of an elephant. On the pretext of possession, Rukmini on the pretext of the procession, Rukmini displayed her beauty for Krishna alone. Slowly she advanced, the two moving lotus whorls of her feet, awaiting the arrival of the Supreme Lord. With the fingernails of her left hand, she pushed some strands of hair away from her face and shyly looked from the corners of her eyes at the kings standing before her. Just not even paying attention to them, really. At that moment, she saw Krishna. Then, while his enemies looked on, the Lord seized the princess who was eager to mount his chariot. And then a little short section of Jiva Goswami's commentary here, because it's interesting and it fits in what we're talking today. Though famous for courage and intelligence, they, the kings, became tormented with love because of her bewildering form. The kings became useless. Seeing that bewildering form, they fell to the ground. She had offered her real, extraordinary beauty to the Lord. It was not possible, it was not visible to the demons. With her fingers, she pushed aside her locks of hair. She was looking for the Lord with shy side glances. She did not look directly. She saw the fallen kings and then saw Krishna. What should she do? She moved her lotus bud feet slowly with a desire to come close to him. So we see here that the demons, these kings, they're seeing something, but they're not seeing what Rukmini is really showing. And Rukmini here is showing her complete and utter beauty, as she's the same as Lakshmi Devi. She's the same as Chandravali. She is the eternal consort of the Lord. And so therefore, everything that she is offered to him because they're eternally together. And these kings, they're foolish because they're thinking somehow or other in their lusty hearts that they can try to possess the goddess of fortune. The goddess of fortune is sometimes called chanchala, or flickering, because the materialists try to possess the goddess of fortune without Krishna, and therefore they cannot possess her. They sometimes get a little shadow for a while, like Ravana. He got a shadow Sita, and it maybe made him feel good for a little while, but it ended up in destruction. And the same thing here, these kings, for a moment, they thought, well, we have this, this girl is here, she's wonderful, but that moment's over. And Krishna takes Rukmini, and they're left with nothing. So for the materialists who seek to have happiness within this material world, they may get happiness for a moment. And that moment, for very lucky persons, might seem to last a lifetime, but in a moment it's over. And certainly we know that no one has unlimited or unbroken so-called happiness in this world, because we're all suffering at all times. It's just because these moments of so-called happiness stand out in our memories that we think we'll keep striving for more. But this is not the goal of life. The goal of life is to become fixed in our relationship with the Supreme Lord. When I was reading this, a verse came to mind, and that verse is also from the 10th canto, and this is one of the verses where Krishna is instructing Uddhava to take a message to the gopis and to his parents, Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj. He says to them, and this is very poignant, the minds of the gopis are always absorbed in me, and their very lives are ever devoted to me. For my sake, they have abandoned everything related to their bodies, renouncing ordinary happiness in this life, as well as religious duties necessary for happiness in the next life. I alone am their dear most beloved, and indeed their very self. Therefore, I take it upon myself to sustain them in all circumstances. So an interesting point being made here is that the gopis, they gave up everything for ordinary happiness in this life. And what did they? And that means, and this is not happiness like in our degraded world. This is happiness in a Vedic culture where humans were not so degraded. And that means it's the happiness as religious duties, and the happiness of being fixed within a certain station in the varnashram, doing your duty. And all surrounded the Lord, all surrounding Krishna. I mean, it's all Krishna consciousness to some degree. But they gave up everything for that. And for those persons who give up everything and simply focus on Krishna, Krishna says, therefore, I sustain them in all circumstances. And actually, Rukmini is doing the same thing. Outside the fact that she couldn't stand Shishupal. I mean, it was just awful. But within the idea that a princess would elope with some other person in front of everybody is outrageous. It's just something that wouldn't be done. It goes against everything in society. But she did that because she alone was focused on Krishna and nothing else. All the kings were around and she was not even seen. They were just dropping off their elephants and horses, whatever, plop, 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 whatever the scene was, and getting up and rubbing their eyes. And it was quite a scene, I'm sure. But all she was waiting for is that Krishna comes into the scene. And immediately she fixes her mind and her eyes on Krishna. So this is a very important point, that it's one-pointed attention upon the Supreme Lord that is being exhibited here. And this, of course, is pure prema. This is not mixed with anything else. In this world, we're aspiring devotees, and we're still mixed. But we still have there's still the point we have to come to, because this is, in a sense, we don't say this so often, but it's bhakti yoga. It's linking through devotion. And there's a term for this one-mindedness. It's a yoga term. Prabhupada never used it. He used a similar term, which we'll talk about in a minute, that some devotees now use, and that's ekagrata. Ekagrata means focused pointedly on one thing. For the yogis, it means, whatever. It may mean a candle. It may mean Brahman. But for us, it means focusing single-mindedly on Krishna and on our service to Krishna. And therefore, Prabhupada spoke about it as ekanta bhakti. That bhakti that is focused on Krishna. Now, this single focus on Krishna, when we see it in the Bhagavatam, exhibited by personalities like Bhishma Dev, or Prahlad Maharaj, where there's a single-minded focus. These personalities, like Bhishma Dev, who sees Krishna at the time he leaves his body on the battlefield, because he wants to leave seeing the Lord. Or Prahlad, who has absolute faith that the Lord will protect him so that he can be even thrown off a cliff. And there's no question in his mind that Krishna will protect him. I mean, there's not a waver there. It's totally ekagrata, or ekanta bhakti. They're on a platform of pure bhakti. They're so above the clouds, so to speak. But for those of us who are still below the clouds, the cloud of Mahamaya, we also, Prabhupada emphasizes this ekanta bhakti. And he talks about it in a class which is based upon a verse from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is, let's say 1 second here. I gotta go back here. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong thing. Here we are. This verse is verse number 33 from the first canto, 15th chapter. The Pandavas retire timely. And the Pandavas are leaving now after the Battle of Kurukshetra and after they've set their kingdom up. It's time for them for their pastimes of disappearance. And this particular verse is Kunti. Is about Kunti. It says, Kunti, after overhearing Arjuna's telling of the end of the Yadu dynasty and disappearance of Lord Krishna, engaged in devotional service of the transcendental personality of Godhead with full attention, and thus gained release from the course of material existence. So, this is a little removed from the level of Rukmini. Of course, it's removed from our level too. But the point is, this is at a time of supposed grief or disturbance. Everyone's disappearing, but she focuses engages in the devotional service of the transcendental personality of Godhead with full attention, and thus gained release. And the words are Ekanta Bhaktya Bhagavat Yadhoksajay. So that Ekanta Bhaktya. So Prabhupada's going to talk about in this class about Ekanta Bhakti in relationship to Kunti Devi. But it's very important because it's in relationship to us. So, Prabhupada speaks. Ekanta Bhakti means unalloyed devotion. This is the secret of devotional life. Even God is not physically present. A devotee can be very much exalted by devotional service. That is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the devotees following the footprints of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are not sahajas. They are devotee of adhoksaja. Beyond the sense perception, they are devotee. This is the secret of Gaudiya Vaishnava. Beyond this sense perception, just like the Goswamis, they were living at Vrindavan. And what sort of living? Simply in separation and search. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also taught us like that. He was searching, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? And feeling separation. Just like you feel sometimes with your lover, separation, and you search. This is our process. Also feel separation from Krishna and try to search out. This is ekanta. This is explained here. Ekanta Bhaktya Bhagavat Adhoksajay. Adhoksajay, he is beyond my perception. Still, my devotion is unalloyed. Not that I cannot see where God is. Oh, what is devotion? Just try to understand. It appears to be contradictory because foolish persons say that if you cannot see God, where is the question of devotion? If you want to serve God, but if you cannot see God, then how can you serve? Therefore, particularly this word is used, ekanta bhaktya bhagavat adhoksajay. That process, that is the process. Even though we cannot see God with our present eyes, God is so merciful that he becomes present before us in a manner in which we can see him. And then he starts talking about the Archa Vigraha. But the point being is that Prabhupada's saying that our process is one of always searching for Krishna. And it is reflective of the gopis on our level. We're not pretending to be the gopis, because at this point it's pretend, and that's very destructive. But it's reflective in the sense when the gopis lost vision of Krishna in the rasa dance, that he vanished. What did they do? They just started singing the glories of Krishna and reenacting his pastimes. And in this way, they were having Krishna close in their hearts. And it was this love and separation that drove them to even a higher level of spiritual ecstasy. So for us, these levels of spiritual ecstasy we don't even talk about. But for us, it means that we become more and more Krishna conscious. That is, free from material inebrities or attraction to material nature. Because that's our big problem. We're attracted to material nature. The big yogis and different impersonalists, they try to negate. But Prabhupada gave us a process of affirm. That is, affirm our relationship with Krishna. And if you can't sit down and chant Hare Krishna all day long like Haridas Thakur, and guess what? You can't. Then we engage in service. What's that service? Deity service. What's that service? Book distribution. What's that service? It may be working for a family and raising your kids. The service is all day long given to Krishna, and that service focuses our mind in meditation. We become, it's sort of like if you talk to a pujari sometimes, and you say, oh, the deities are so nicely dressed, and say, well, Krishna somehow or another made it happen. How? I don't know. I was so absorbed in dressing the deities. They don't maybe say this, but they're so absorbed dressing the deities, they don't know actually how it's happening because Krishna is helping them. He's protecting them so that they can get the... And in those periods of time, even though we're not great devotees on the level of anything like Rukmini or anybody in the spiritual world, we get that ekanta bhakti. We're ekagrita. We're focused on one point. And the more we focus on one point, the more we don't focus on all the junk out here. And there's a lot of it. And we may go back to that because we're conditioned. But at least we can engage in service, engage in kirtan, engage in our japa in such a way that we are always fixed during those times. Harivamsa Prabhu last night was talking about the mind galloping like horses all over the place. Yeah, that's similar to what Arjuna said to Krishna in the 6th chapter. He said, I can't control my mind. It's like the wind. It's impossible. But Prabhupada gave us a process. Well, not just Prabhupada, but Prabhupada through the disciplic succession, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even great acharyas before him, and of course Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, they're giving us a process, but whereby at whatever level we're on, we can fix our mind on Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is a good place. You know, Bhagavad Gita is like the foundation of everything else we do. If we have a strong foundation, Bhagavad Gita, then the Bhagavatam pastimes and the pastimes of the Lord Chaitanya and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, they become firmly fixed. It just doesn't become some sort of like amazing story that I can't quite understand, but it ties to the tattva that we learn in Bhagavad Gita. And in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2, verse 41, Vyavayasika maka buddhir ekeya kurunandana bahu shaka yanantascha bureo vyasayanam. Again, here's the word ekeha, or one, oneness. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So sometimes we become many-branched and confused, and we think this or that, and we're attracted to things of this material world. So at that point, we have to understand how to become ekeya. As Krishna said to Arjuna, ekeya kurunandana. And what he said, vyavasaya atmika, resolute in Krishna consciousness. What? With buddhi, intelligence. At this point, we have to use our intelligence, and that intelligence is bolstered by hearing from our Gurudev. It's bolstered by chanting good japa. It's bolstered by hearing from our Guru and becoming attached to him. What does Prabhupada say about this verse? And then we'll just concentrate on the first 2 lines. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. Prabhupada says, a strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called vyavayasimika intelligence. This is the intelligence we have to gain. This buddhi, this intelligence that Krishna is the only purpose. He's the only goal. People have so many goals. Become a millionaire, become a father or a mother, become famous. They're all just going to be washed away. But Krishna is eternal. So if we have a relationship with Krishna that's eternal, then that's the goal we want. Prabhupada says further on, faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family traditions, humanity, or nationality. In the beginning, when Prabhupada came to America, it was during a time of it's really amazing. It's like the 1960s were a time of great disturbance in this country, and it's now disturbed again. And I think it was disturbed all the time in between. But the fact is that in the 1960s, it was a really disturbed time with the Cold War and the Vietnam War and protests and civil rights marches. And at one point, Prabhupada was invited by a man who was interested in Krishna consciousness to go to a peace vigil at the UN. And so everybody was going to the peace vigil, and Prabhupada immediately started up a Harinam, Sankirtan. But they said, no, this is a silent vigil. You just sit here. And Prabhupada said, this is useless. It's useless because it has no purpose. Everybody's sitting there. What are you thinking about? You're thinking about your lunch. You're thinking maybe about the Vietnam War or something. But people are just mind wandering. And they don't know what they're really sitting for. Everyone wants peace. No one wants to be harassed. But, there's no purpose. But the purpose he wanted was everybody can hear the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then he wanted people to become awake in Krishna consciousness. And then, as he says here, when one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they're no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. In the material world, if you don't become successful at something, you're a failure. You don't win the gold medal at the Olympics, or a bronze or a silver, you're a failure. There's no medals for 8th place. But in Krishna consciousness, no matter where we're on, what place we're in, there is a medal. And that medal is that we become closer to Krishna. It's not like we're trying, and the whole idea of being a Vaishnava is to become humble. So through humility, we just feel that somehow or other, I've been given a service, I've been given association, I've been given some good fortune. And therefore, I want to take that good fortune and focus on the source of that good fortune, that's Krishna. And it's the Guru who helps us, because the Guru helps us focus, because we can't really apprehend Krishna, as it says. We really can't understand completely or at all in some cases. But the Guru helps us by connecting us to the Parampara. So, Prabhupada goes down farther. He says, the resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. And that knowledge is that Krishna is the root of all manifested, that he's the root of all manifested causes. And service in Krishna consciousness, however, is best practiced under the able guidance of the spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. Now, this is an interesting point being made here, because certainly we know that Srila Prabhupada is the foremost Vaishnava for all of us. And the rest of us, we don't really come up to his standard at all. Prabhupada is the ray of Vishnu. I talked about earlier, we're underneath the clouds of Maya. But sometimes the clouds, they open up and there's a ray of sunlight from the sky. So he's the ray of Vishnu. So we really, none of us are capable of being rays of Vishnu. But we can have mirrors. and reflect that sunlight in other people's direction. And that's the goal of all of us. And certain persons, like who are authorized to be gurus, they've actually taken on the task of, even though none of us are up to Prabhupada's level, they come up to the task of practicing Ekanta Bhakti. And in that Ekanta Bhakti, they become a very powerful mirror for Prabhupada. And they can reflect Prabhupada's mercy to everyone. So Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I'm sorry I went a little too long.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Marhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan Shaima Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kalinija Munajaya Jaya Mahavan Keshigata Vamshivata Vatasakana Takasaba Lila Koina Chinandananda Shinanda Jashoda Jaya Jaya Gopaka Shinamati Jaya Jaya Denuvatsa Gan Jaya Prisha Banu Jaya Kirtida Sunare Jaya Purna Matse Jaya Vira Nagare Jaya Jaya Gopi Shara Vrindavan Maja Jaya Jaya Krishna Saka Vatu Dvijara Jaya Rama Gata Jaya Rohini Nanda Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vatsi Jaja Jagan. Jaya Japatne Jaya Nakakanya Kakan. Bhakti Jat Harapaila Govinda Charana. Shirasa Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Shankam. Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Saramanora. Jaya Jaya Jala Rasa Sarva Rasa Sagar. Bhavakya Bhaveda Brajate Braja. Shri Jannavapada Padma Korea Smaran. Dina Krishna Dasakoe Nama Sankirtan. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Jaya Radhe, Golokananda Radhe, Golokananda Radhe. Jaya Radha, Golokananda Radhe, Golokananda Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Radhe Jaya Sri Radhe Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace. Namacharya Siddhartha Statu Vrindavanam ki jai, Ajuram ki jai, Jagadasami ki jai, Yamunamai ki jai, Shrimati Lasidevi ki jai, Samavita Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Go Premananda Hari Hadgo, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. All glories to Radha Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavan. All glories to the three presiding deities of Vrindavan, Shri Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan. All glories to Shamakund, Radhakund, Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna River at Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavana. All glories to Keshigat, the Vamsivat tree, and the 12 forests of Braja. At these places, the son of Nanda, Shri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys headed by Sri Ram. All glories to the cows and calves of Braja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Vrishabhanu, and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamasi, the mother of Sandipani Muni. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Braja. All glories to Gopishvara Shiva, who resides in Vrindavan in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmin friend Madhumangal. All glories to Ramagat, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all the residents of Vrindavan. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Through pure devotion, they all obtain the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the rasa dance of Sri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shyam. All glories to the divine rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all Lord Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the mellow of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas and is propagated in Braj by Sri Krishna in the form of the divine Parakiya Bhav. Remembering the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda's consort Sri Janavadevi, this very fallen and slowly servant of Krishna sings the Sankirtan of the holy name. Jai. Okay.
Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratibhanam Punamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pitani Amita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amani Nama